tonight's presentation. And so, so I want to welcome everybody from the Fresno County Bicycle Coalition hosting this evening's Bike Cafe. And we are talking about Münster takeaways, and we have honored guest, Councilmember Mike Karbassi, who was on the trip to Münster, as was Laura Gromis and Nick Jovino, and hopefully we'll be joined by Jill Gormley, our assistant Public Works Director, who had a kid event tonight that was started at 5:30, and she wasn't sure if she was going to be able to make it on time. But at any rate, we have a great turnout this evening, and I think everybody's really interested to hear from our guest what their takeaways were from Münster, from our trip for the Sister City trip, which is a lead up to the Fresno International Transportation Innovations Pedal Summit, which is coming up October 27th. So I want to leave some time at the end to talk about that. But I would like to invite our honored speakers to introduce themselves and start the conversation here. And hopefully we'll have some time. We'll kind of go tag team here, and we'll have some time for questions and some conversation. So I think, one of the things that, we all would like to hear is, what our speakers' impressions were of Münster. I played a little video of our trip there that was on, and I'm going to take off my original sound for musicians there. And so to give a little flavor of that, tell us what your impressions were, and then also, what your takeaways are as far as what applications to Fresno, what relevance is this to Fresno? So I'm gonna start with Mike, because you are our featured speaker here. So Mike, I wanted to share with us what your impressions of the trip was.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Tony. So I'm Mike Karbassi. I'm a council member for Northwest Fresno. Essentially, everything Shaw north of the river and Blackstone west past the 99. It's a very large area. With redistricting, I did lose the Blackstone Shaw. That corner is no longer part of District 2. But anyhow, Münster was amazing. I have to say, I was born and raised Northwest Fresno. As a kid, I had a Huffy bike. I never had any fear or worry about riding my bike. Obviously, we were taught at Malik. We had after school I remember there was like one or two times we went to this little school class where we got a little license, and we felt great about that. Got some buy-in, and we learned what side of the road to be on, how to be careful. But there weren't people texting on their phones, so I didn't feel as unsafe as it feels now. Being in Münster, for me, some things that seeing is believing. I was very impressed. First of all, as a people, they're wonderful, but they have two bicycles for every resident, and they have used their cars, they use their bikes. And what's really amazing is that their model shows what is possible for Fresno. And I know it's not going to happen overnight, but it makes me realize that in the time I have on the council, I need to be a part of the movement of people like you who are laying the groundwork. So the same as Münster, it didn't happen overnight with them either. It took a while. So for me, not to be too punny, but it kind of got me on board this train. I really see what's possible. And a lot of people, by the way, over there, I was really impressed. Everyone, they're pretty healthy because they're walking and moving all the time. And that was really impressive too. So it was a great overall experience. It really opened up my mind to what's possible. And that's in a nutshell. There's a lot more details. I don't want to bore everybody. I want to hear, Jill just joined us. I'm excited. I want to hear from Jill. I want to hear from Laura and Tony as well, because they also were there, and we want to compare some notes. So that's about it.
And also Caesar is with us. He was one of the students who was on the trip there too. So we might ask Caesar what his impressions were.
Excellent. All right.
As a future traffic engineer, transportation engineer. So,
great.
But Jill, welcome, Jill. Thank you for joining us. I know you had a crazy schedule today, so thank you for your generous support for this effort. And thank you for going to Münster. So tell us what are your takeaways from Münster? from your trip? You're muted there. Sorry, I gotta.
All right, can you hear me now? Sorry, I was late. Yeah, it was a fun trip. It was almost, kind of surreal to get off the train and see, literally thousands of parked bikes, just thousands. I will say I didn't see thousands of people riding bikes, but I saw thousands of parked bikes. And it was really neat to see some of the stuff that we talk about, in public works, namely kind of the curbside cycle tracks, the raised cycle tracks right next to the sidewalks. And it was also really interesting. We struggle with that. We've got that proposed for our McKinley Blackstone project. And one of the things we've struggled with in the design of that is how do we accommodate, ADA components into that? And they really had none. I mean, I would say they were kind of the opposite of ADA. It was kind of hard to walk around on the cobblestone street, at least where we were at. We were downtown in the city center, very beautiful, very historic looking, but all cobblestone. For able-bodied people, it was hard to walk on those streets. But seeing a lot of that infrastructure and seeing people actually using it was wonderful. Like I said, it was kind of a surreal experience just to see all of that and the support that they have. I mean, we went on a bike ride. It was a 15-mile ride to a castle, and talking with one of their mobility people from the city of Münster, and asked, he's talking about their bike street and showing us the specifications for their bike street. And I asked him, he said, we want it to be 4 to 5 meters. And I said, well, what if you don't get 4 to 5 meters? He said, well, we'll make 4 to 5 meters. We'll make that space. And I said, well, how do you do that? You get rid of parking? Well, if we have to, and I said, well, how does that go over? Not very well, but they've got support from everybody on some level that's going to be whatever needs to be done. They're gonna make it happen. On the same kind of vein, they're also very much into climate change, and they really bought into that, and they don't have air conditioning there, so made for kind of a long, hot trip. But they've said no air conditioning in our municipal buildings, because that's part of their goal and their desire to get to some point, and that's a step that they decided to implement and take, and they're kind of walking the walk and talking the talk. So it was really neat to see. It was a good trip. I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot.
Yeah, and the thing I really appreciated was being able to go on the bike ride with Jill and Laura and Nick. That was really amazing. But they have this. I showed a screenshot of their bike network. They have like 4,500 kilometers of this connected bike network that you can kind of go all over. And plus, they have the one of the circular loop cycle tracks called the Promenade that goes all the way around it, that was built on top of the former castle walls. It's actually just really amazing. And I showed some photos of that earlier. So maybe at the end, for anybody that didn't see the slideshow, we'll play it again. So we'll get it on the recording there. So I saw Claudia had her hand up there. Did you have a question, Claudia, for
No.
No,
I was looking for the chat and accidentally did it. Sorry.
Okay. So okay, and then let's see, our other fellow traveler there was Laura. So I want to introduce Laura Gromis, who's the Executive Director of the U.S. Green Building Council, who is from Germany, by the way, and is also chair of the Active Transportation Advisory Committee. So welcome, Laura. And as a German, you were probably not too surprised by any of this, having grown up riding a bike in Germany. So, but what was your take on the trip?
Yeah, thank you so much, Tony, for having us all to reflect on this. And yeah, I grew up in Germany, not in Münster, but in Cologne, which is like 100 miles south of Münster. Um, and it really reminded me of why I got into this work here in Fresno. When I got to Fresno about 15 years ago, I came with this German attitude and expectation for multimodality, right? Um, multimobility. In Germany, I had my bike or I walked, and we had public transportation, and you would combine it, and that would get you to where you needed to go. I never really had a need for a car while I was there, except if I needed to go to the countryside. But within the city, within the urban environment, you just had, you know, active transportation or public transportation. And it was actually very hindering to have a car because parking was really difficult where I grew up. So when I first got here, I tried to pursue that kind of lifestyle and tried to use my bike a lot, but I was scared of dogs on the road, and I was scared of all the big cars. And so being in Münster really reminded me of this like lifestyle, and you know, all the health benefits of going out and just walking everywhere and biking everywhere, and the opportunity it provided to connect with people. While we were there, we just walked from place to place, you know, meeting places or restaurants, and it gave us opportunities to connect and talk to each other, and you experience a city in such a different way. And it's just really pleasant to walk around, bike around, you know, in this way. And it's something I think that I think is one of the drawbacks of living here, you know, in the Central Valley, because it's not that given. But there's a lot of hope, I think. I'm happy to hear the council member say that this really inspired him to invest more in active transportation, because there are so many great projects going on. And I know there's other concerns here than there in Germany. And yes, the cobblestones is certainly, out of an ADA perspective, not very ideal. But I think, you know, there's a lot of great opportunities that we are working on, so we can create like a better city. Also, one thing that I always have in mind is that the city that I grew up in was built by the Romans, and it wasn't built for cars. Right at that point, it was built for people to walk around and have carriages around. And so city infrastructure changed so much over, you know, a long period of time. So I think that's important to keep in mind while talking about, you know, different designs of cities, and having kind of more like a human-centered design has just a lot of value. I think that's what from like this experience of living now in Fresno and going with people from Fresno that work in this field to experience Münster. I think it really exposed me more to this value that it has to have a city where you can safely walk and bike around. And I think we still have a really long way to go here. But at least there is like steps that we are taking to go forward. So yeah, it was inspiration and kind of keeping us in check as well. As we are, you know, working on this.
So thank you, Laura. So so I'd also like to invite Caesar Roundabout to maybe share a few comments too. Caesar, are you able to share some of your impressions since you were on the trip there as well?
Hi, Tony. Yeah. Hi, my name is Asst. I'm a student assistant at Fresno State Transportation Institute, and I had the pleasure of going to Germany this past summer. In my first couple of days in Germany, I was in new territory. I grew up in Peru, and and just got, as soon as I was 4 years old, I got into California, went to in a small city life, and then I get placed in Germany, which is a whole entire new experience. No idea where I was going, no idea. Oh my God, new country. It was surprising. And luckily, I got the full experience in my opinion, because I got to stay with a family. And being over there is really such an honor just to be in Germany, because it's so friendly. Everyone was so on you, and it felt like home, felt like another place. And the bikes over there, everywhere was biking, no matter what. We went to many cities. I was in Angermode, which was about 25-minute bike ride to Münster. And man, it was just a wild trip. I remember most of the time having to go through bikes, and since over here in Fresno or in my little city Delano, no one would be on bikes. It was so hard getting used to riding a bike once again. And my experience, 2 hours from one city to another city, was fun. It was new, and just to feel nice, fresh breeze. Not so much pollution, that's for sure. Not like over here in Fresno, where you can't really breathe as much. In all, I would say that this has been really a gift. A gift.
Thank you, Cesar. As you all are probably aware, we've been planning the Pedal Summit, the Fresno International Transportation Innovation Summit, coming up October 27th. And I want to thank Mike Karbassi for his role in helping negotiate this Sister City project here. So all of this trip to Münster was kind of a lead up, because we're actually going to have a delegation from Münster that's going to be joining us at the Pedal Summit in person to share some of the lessons that we can take from this Sister City shared experience. So I want to invite everybody to make sure you sign up for that. There's a $35 community advocate registration fee, includes lunch. So I just want to mention that, and I'll mention that again. But that's kind of what this is leading up to. So Mike, do you want to say anything about the Sister City project?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, to be fair, a lot of people question, what is a sister city? Why do we have sister cities? What's the benefit of it? Why Münster? These are all great questions. So we have a sister city in Guadalajara, for example. We have sister cities in Münster. And what's interesting to know, other countries and other large cities in the country take this sister city relationship very seriously. In the city of Münster, which the city of Münster in Germany has three big industries. One is education with Münster University, the government, and the third is, of all things, office, insurance companies, offices. Industries. They have at least 6 people in their sister city global relations office, and that city does that because they understand the benefit of these. But I really believe we're the 5th largest city and the 4th largest economy. We have to start behaving bigger and doing the things some bigger cities like San Francisco and Los Angeles do. They do dedicate money to the trade we can exchange. Anyways, the reason I mentioned that, why Münster? So the relationship with Münster and Fresno dates back a long time. In fact, Nick Yavino, I don't know if he's here today, but we have a lot of students, for example, Bullard High School, which is in my district. A lot of those kids will travel to Germany, and it's a lot of German kids. They're in high school. They're not college kids. So it's even, I applaud them for being able to do this at a young age. They'll come here for a year and get that experience. And we have one of those kids who's now a council member in Germany, who's been to Fresno over a dozen times. I think he may be coming in October. And of course, Nick from Fresno, who goes back and forth. That's kind of what started this whole process. And that's kind of why we have Münster, Germany. My predecessor, Steve Brandow, that was his sister city. I inherited that, and I'm grateful I did, because of the benefits Münster gives us. So one of the things I didn't mention is it wasn't just about bicycling, multimodal transportation we learned about. We also visited other facilities. They are leading the way on battery research and technology. For example, I have an EV. One of the questions is, how are we going to recycle these EV batteries? What they're working on, and it fascinates me. They went through a lot of chemistry, so after about 10 minutes, I felt really dumb because it was too advanced for me. But what I learned was they believe once a battery is spent, and they think they will get 3,000 charging cycles per EV battery for maybe 1,000,000 miles. That's big. The industry doesn't have that yet. So that means the software will expire before the battery itself does. They believe they'll have a method to completely recycle the battery to be reused as an EV battery, which means we won't have to keep mining constantly. That was never on the horizon. That's a huge deal. So one of the things I've done is engage with our public utilities department to see what we can do to prep for that and just kind of keep that on our radar. But Tony, I think I'm babbling. I think I got off topic. You asked me specifically to talk about the summit or just the history of the sister cities?
Well, no, that's great. We'll kind of end up on the summit there at the end, but right now, I think there may be some questions people have about that they'd like to ask.
Oh yeah. Oh sure, absolutely. Nope, there's no bad questions. Don't be shy.
So one of the questions I want to ask about is, they have these cycle tracks on the sidewalks, which I think is really interesting because
yes,
it was interesting to see how that works. There were regular bike lanes, but they also had a lot of the sidewalks they had converted to bike lanes. It seemed to work pretty well.
Yeah, I think Jill touched on that. So imagine you have a sidewalk on a curb off the road, and instead of it just being concrete, it's like red bricks that are pretty smooth. It's not like cobblestones. And that was kind of like the bicycle or e-scooter lane. By the way, I totally fell in love with e-scooters. I think they're the coolest thing in the world. Unfortunately, Paris just banned them. And when I first came on, it was a bit controversial because Fresno State didn't want them. But I think we can make the case at some point if we have good parameters so they're not left everywhere. I'm very interested in e-scooters. Anyways, those tracks, I think it really, even though the cars are next to them somewhat, it delineates for people that are walking and people that are driving that, hey, this is the path for bicyclists. They have a right of way and we need to watch out for them. It gives them ownership of the road. It wasn't just it literally sharing the road, I guess is the way to put it. I like that a lot. If you're familiar with Northwest Fresno, in fact, as I'm driving, I see it right now. On the north end of Herndon, for the most part, there is black wrought iron fence, and there's a rather wide concrete pathway. That's sort of what we had there, although it's a farther setback from the road and there's a barrier. But imagine if we had more of that. I think it makes people feel really safe. I'll add this one thing. What I really appreciate about the folks in Münster, in fact, I saw this firsthand. Their police department is very different from ours, but they will stop bicyclists and they will stop cars that are texting and driving or on their phones. It happened right in front of me with a bicyclist, and the fine, I think, is 55 euros, which is quite a lot. One thing that's on my mind, I really want to know how people feel about this, because on the one hand, we don't want to be heavy-handed, but you have people that are in cars that, like mine, that have the technology to be hands-free, but are still on their phones texting. This distracted driving problem, I think, is the next drunk driving problem. People just don't pay attention, and it's so easy to hit someone. And we want to get buy-in for safety, but people just don't feel safe. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
So I think there may be some comments about this. There are some questions in the chat that I'm getting feedback from somewhere. I don't know, maybe somebody else can read the questions. Maybe Edie, can you read
Oh, I'm sorry.
the chat?
Mike, yeah, Matthew just said we're getting feedback. Oh, I'll mute. Sorry. Sorry, guys. I'll mute.
Okay, sorry. Thank you,
The politicians, I knew it.
I will have to tag team, so we'll have to trade off muting ourselves there. So, so I see there was a question from Melissa. In comparison to our area, what are the speed limits for cars traveling next to the cycle tracks, and how well are they maintained? Are the cycle tracks? So, so there did seem to be kind of, and maybe Jill can comment about this, but there did seem to be kind of a hierarchy of facility that was, you know, kind of located next to the cycle tracks in terms of the speed of the traffic stress. So if there were, you know, more of an arterial situation, then the cycle tracks were kind of elevated on the curb, and when there was lower traffic stress, then there was like a traditional, what we call a class 2 bike lane. And then there were also bike priority, like a bike boulevard, essentially, that Max Stevens, the transportation coordinator, pointed out that the cars were considered guests on those streets. So they were all kind of painted red instead of green over there to indicate the bicycle priority. So so the cycle tracks were pretty well maintained. I don't know how they managed to do that, but it seemed like they were pretty clear of debris. The challenge with those elevated cycle tracks on the sidewalk was the competition for space with the pedestrians and the bicyclists. You had to really kind of get used to it, having, you know, bikes kind of whizzing by you. So you had to kind of catch yourself as an outsider there to make sure you didn't get hit there. But I guess people there seem to be used to it. They do have bicycle crashes there. You know, obviously there are people getting in each other's way. Fortunately, they've only had one fatality there in 2022. It was their last fatality. So even though 47% of the trips are by bike, the relative proportion of fatalities is low. But I'm sure there's lots of other, you know, kind of minor crashes. So, so Jill, any thoughts on that, on the speed limits and the cars and things? I'll mute myself here.
Well, we were more in the city center in a downtown, you know, like in a downtown type of area. So I noticed a lot of 30s. I'm guessing that's metric. I don't know offhand what that, you know, converts to, but it didn't feel like everybody was speeding to get to one place. You know, there was a lot of transit and transit only lanes in the city center or around our hotel where we were. So it felt comfortable, I think, as a pedestrian, and I did not ride the bike in the city center too much other than to get to, you know, a larger trail, but it was very comfortable. I didn't feel, you know, like the cars were whizzing past us. Sure it happens, but it just seemed like a very comfortable speed.
Laura, what did you think about the cycle tracks?
Well, I mean, what I loved most was this bicycle boulevard just going around the city, which was basically the old city wall that used to surround the city, and that was taken away and replaced by this bicycle boulevard, and that just made it really easy to access everything. And you know, get people on a circle around, and then you can, you know, connect either to the inner city or to the suburbs. And yeah, Caesar was talking about that he got a bike, and he lived in a suburb like 25 minutes away by bike. And that's what all the students got. They all got bikes to get to the places where they stayed, and it was just like expected. So yeah, I mean, when you have like this great system of bike boulevards, either where you you know, kind of like a class one separated, or one that is, you know, close to the road but very separated by the road, you just increase this like feeling of safety. And I think Münster is a great demonstration how it really helps to create this connectivity. So the question is, right, in Fresno, where are our connectivity, you know, points? How can we get people around that, you know, and make things easily accessible? I mean, there's certainly, you know, a lot of issues with the way our zoning works and the distances between places, but I mean, there are a lot of opportunities to increase the connectivity here so that people can bike in like smaller areas. So yeah, I think that's what these bike boulevards, you know, really inspired my thinking about, you know, including maybe ideas of you know, maybe we have like a pilot district, you know, how would that look like, that we focus on a certain area, or like you know, two areas close by each other or something like that, to really create these safety points, you know, where you have this increased connectivity, which is just so important.
I go ahead, Mike.
No, please, Tony. Oh, after you.
No, go ahead. I'll let you go first, and I'll hop in after.
Bill and I may have discussed this. So what I also liked about the bike, called the bike highway, is it was red. I think in Japan it's blue. Of course, for blue for us is for disabled pathways. I like that it was pretty clear that this is the bike road or bike pathway. And I'm just thinking, for example, in Northwest Fresno, which we don't have an east-west freeway, let alone in this part of town. But what's really neat is there are things on the horizon. So I mentioned Herndon being a pathway, because you've got Camp Cheyenne for the river out there. You've got the Palm access point to the river. Imagine if we complete this route, and with Veterans Boulevard coming in, there's a class 4 bike path that I think High Speed Rail paid for, that you'll be able to cross 99 and go to the other side of across the tracks 99, and then at the same time, they're going to realign Polk Avenue, the overpasses. When I ride my bike to my dad's house from my house, I have to walk my bike, don't tell anybody, across the tracks. I don't have a choice, because I'm not going to go on the very narrow overpass. That's just even more dangerous. So those things are on the horizon. But Laura, what she just said, yes, my mind is moving now. How can we make it easier? Because I can't force everyone to ride their bikes. That's going to take time. But we have to also make it doable, and we have to build the pathways. And I think that it's going to be really easy to integrate it in this part of Northwest Fresno, because things are kind of laid out. We just got to kind of get people on board.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, sorry, I was going to share some of what it looks like there for people, so they can kind of see what the red bike lanes and the way the raised side paths are there. Let me show you some of that. So you can kind of this is one of those. You can see where the no cars are allowed on there, but it's there's cars in there, but it's a wrong way street. But it's a bicycle priority street right there. So cars are guests there, and that it's kind of designated by a what we would call a sharrow there. So that's some of the things. This was a raised cycle track that goes down and has a kind of a merge lane there on the street next to the cars. And here's one that's on the street. It's not raised there, so it's and then lots of there's like a bike box there that we're starting to see some of those. You can see some of the 30-kilometer signs there. So not that I understand all of their signage. And then here's their high visibility crosswalks as well there, but you can kind of get the idea there. So.
I think another point that this really reminded me about was also this cultural component. And it came up a little bit during the trip. I don't know, Jill, we last year we built, you guys built over like 14 miles, right, of bike lanes. I might be off, but there has been a lot of investment in bike lanes, and we are gonna have a lot of finished construction for protected bike lanes. The problem is though that we have this cultural component, right? We both have the safety concern, and we have people that are just not using their bikes. So when we are talking about having a more active transportation friendly city, we kind of have to work kind of grow on all these different aspects, right? At the same time, we need to invest in infrastructure, but we also have to encourage people, right, to use their bikes. And at the same time, and probably most important, we have to work on the safety aspect. So I think that's like one of the challenges that it reminded me of, right, that we have to work on all these aspects together. And one of the things in Germany, and one of the things that my kids experience a lot, my kids are elementary school age, and you know, here they're very coddled. They like to go by themselves to places, but they have limited opportunities. First of all, right, because it's just dangerous to cross the roads. And then I also think, you know, what do other people think about it? And on the trip, I had a conversation with the mayor, and he's like, oh yeah, whenever I see a kid by themselves on the street, you know, I've seen too many things. I don't like to see that. And in Germany, it's just really normal for kids to walk by themselves. So there's a lot of like safe walking and biking instruction happening early in life. So I think one of the takeaways, you know, from this is that while we invest in infrastructure, now we also have to invest in bicycle and walking education for kids early on to prepare them to be able to safely walk and bike around. We see way too many collisions, right, and fatalities in our community. And so we know that at least 50% are caused by the person biking or walking. So it's really important that we start with this education very early. You know, while we are working on creating safer roads through infrastructure improvements.
Yeah, and to add on, Laura, one of the things Laura and I are working on, we talked about it a little bit last week. When the German delegation comes here, they're going to have some of their police officers here. So the police officers do go into elementary schools, and they have a really neat program. It's all voluntary, but they actually get these puppets, and they make a personality for the puppet. And using the puppet, they teach kids about bike safety. And these are little kids. And every bike, I wish I had the picture with me, has a sticker. It's a color-coded sticker like we get at registration for our cars with the year on it. And you'll see that sticker saying this child got their annual education for bike safety. And when they come here, I think at Malik, we're gonna schedule with our police department officers, a little bike class, kind of like I used to have when I was a kid. And it's one of the things I'm looking at to see how we can do that in Northwest Fresno. But the trip inspired me to be able to do that, and Laura's been really helpful on that front too.
So one of the things I wanted also to kind of share with, I mentioned the promenade, the circular route that was on the castle wall there. I just wanted to share what that looks like. And let's see. There you go. So you can see the walking path next to it, and then all the people on the bikes. There's walking paths on both sides. All the great shade that we could sure use in Fresno here. And you could see, kids going to school and people going to work and stuff. So it was pretty amazing. So here's moms with kids. Getting around there. So that was pretty inspiring. There's our mayor. I also wanted to, here's the train station where we arrived at, which is the public transportation, is really amazing. The trains, are really, really awesome. You can see the pedestrian crossing signals there. And then the other thing I wanted to share with everybody was just the amazing bike parking. They have these huge. They have a parking problem, as you can see, and they have underground parking that you walk down this ramp here. And here's Jill taking notes here. Thank you, Jill, for looking at all of this. And here's some of the rental bikes that are available. You can get some cargo bikes if you need one. And so there's our team there at the rad station there. So there's anyway. So that was really pretty remarkable. All the parking. So hopefully someday when they have the high-speed rail, we'll have one of those next door there. So let's see, it's 7:45. So I wanted to kind of leave some time for questions people might have. There's a number of questions in the chat that I haven't been keeping up on, and let's see, anybody else, please feel free to chime in here. So let's see, we have
one of the good questions in the chat is, what did the trip teach you about the value of bicycling and bicycle infrastructure?
Okay. Anybody want to take that one? I think for me, the having the bicycle infrastructure there that is convenient and accessible really was pretty inspiring. But the other thing that I took away from it is that it's, they talk about a 15-minute city, and probably Münster qualifies in that regard. At least on a bike, you could probably get across a fair amount of it in 15 minutes. I know you could, from where we were staying, kind of near the train station, it was under a 15-minute walk to the city center, which was pretty cool. So
I would add to this, Tony, that it's really the quality of life and the health benefits that makes like a good bicycle infrastructure invaluable for a city. I think it really increases the attraction of a city. And yeah, but one thing that we did not connect on yet is that there's a lot of green space in the city as well that is connected through bike lanes. So that combination just creates a great environment to live and move in. And yeah, once you have it right, it's invaluable. It's just the question, where do you get the money to build it from? I think that is a big one that, we have to work on, or support Jill and her team to work on.
So there's some other good questions in the chat. Thank you, Laura. Let's see, there was one suggested, wondering why we couldn't do this with the canals, and that's I think everybody's kind of wondered that. So I don't know. I mean, there are some opportunities there for Fresno with our canal system, which we embarking on with the Midtown Trail, and hopefully there'll be some other ones. So I wanted to ask maybe Mike and Jill's thoughts on if there what's our next Canal Bank Trail. Has there been some thought to we have a you know a active transportation plan that has lots of trails on it, but how close are we to actually expanding beyond the Midtown Trail?
Well, I think we just finished up the Fancher Creek trail plan. That might be a good opportunity for trails along the canals. It's just challenging. We don't own the canals. We don't own the canal, and so it's another jurisdiction that is in control of that right away. And you know, we're trying our hardest to get that moving because we think it's a good opportunity as well, but it proves challenging. So I'd probably say Fancher is probably one is lined up or teed up to be in a good position, but I'm sure there's lots of other ones.
Yes, thank you. And then Matthew asked, are there any arterials comparable to or expressways like Shaw or Blackstone or Herndon? There were some, but I was not in a car, so I didn't really get a chance to see them. But I don't know. Did anybody else notice any other ones? I know that the traffic speeds are a lot slower there on their arterials, but maybe Jill or Mike, did you get a chance to see any of the larger? I mean, there are some on the map that I looked at there. So.
Yeah, on the bike ride, I would have called it more like a highway, though. I don't know if, I mean, they were outside of town at that point. I don't know the structure of Münster. I kept asking, are we still in Münster? Are we still in Münster? And so there's lots of little villages, little pockets. I don't know the makeup of how their city is structured, but I did see some bigger roads, but it was when I would have said we were out in the country, more like a highway.
Yeah, let me actually I wanted to share the regional network, and it does show where the highways are on here. So let me see if I can share screen and show you this slide and make it bigger. Let's see. There we go. So that is part of the 4,500 kilometers of regional network, and you can see the yellow lines are the major arteries. And the blue lines are, you can see the circle around where the city wall was. There's actually the city wall is right, the smaller concentric circle around where it says Münster there, and then there's a larger concentric circle that goes around the city that's even farther out. And then there's also you could go around if you put together some of the other routes there, but you can kind of see everything is kind of built in Münster, from the center out as the city grew out from Roman and medieval times. They actually still do have a Roman theater there that Laura and I stumbled onto on our rambles there. So, but yeah, it was very, very, very impressive. So yeah, wouldn't it be great if we had a regional bike network radiating spokes out from Fresno to all of the local communities there? You could get around without having to ride on a major major thoroughfare. So yeah, it was pretty ideal. But so all right, well, it's 7:53, so I've got a little bit more time for any other questions. I think somebody said I think there's Mike. You're back there. So hi Mike, welcome back. So any final comments, Mike, Jill, Laura, and then we'll put a plug in. Any other questions? If you want to raise your hand, and I'll just call on you. We have Wendell. Go ahead, Wendell.
Yeah, so I think one of our problems is that we have a big county that abuts Fresno City, as we all know. And we also have lots of county islands. I happen to live in one in Northwest Fresno. So even though Mike's a great guy, he doesn't really represent me because I'm in the county and I'm represented by Steve Brandow. Steve Brandow doesn't seem to be all that friendly towards bike riders or cycling. My main point, though, is that Fresno City worked really hard to get some big grants from, I think, the state to develop, better bike lanes from downtown up north. But then when they got into the county, everything petered out. And the county does not seem to be interested in going for grants or trying to improve bike riding for bike riders. I guess I have two questions there. Is that a correct assessment, Mike, that they're not too interested in improving the bike lanes? And second,
To be fair,
is there anything we can do to try to, resolve that if that's true?
you are correct. Unfortunately, Steve, I think there was a little stunt he did when he was a council member on Fruit Avenue where he did a bike study. He is not a fan. I will tell you this, Steve and I are politically not always aligned, but we've been able to work together on important, because all those county islands, I mean, one side of the street is county, one side is Faulkner is a good example. We've been able to work together on joint projects. If I can come to him with something with reason and logic, I could win him over, and I'm willing to leverage my relationship for that, even though it's a hard sell. What I would say is if you want to push for bike projects, Nathan Maxick is the person you want to talk to because he is an avid cyclist. He actually does care about these things. And he is on the other side of the aisle, which it doesn't hurt to have friends on the other side because they can bring some of those folks aboard. So maybe it's not their priority, but it could be Nathan's priority. In fact, when we had, I don't know if it was Day of Remembrance, we were at City Hall, and Nathan actually came out. And usually we don't integrate much with the county, but this is one issue that brings us together. And Claudia, yes, I'm so glad you're happy about the resurfacing of Faulkner. And we're working on the other side on Van Ness because of Malik Elementary moving the crosswalk. So Wendell, you're right. But there is.
I don't see bike riding as a political issue myself. I don't see it as a Republican or anything like that. I know Steve's pretty conservative, but we ought to all be in favor of bike riding, it seems to me.
I know. It's ego. That's the problem. It's okay. The city doesn't want to be suspicious, or it's not political. You're right. And road safety is not political. A road diet may be one that raises concern, but doesn't mean we can't do something about it. There are ways to work things through. We just got to be willing to do the work and just be open to conversation. But again, like I said, I can work on Steve. If it's something really important to me, he may need help on another thing. It's fine. I will help you. You want to this road? The city can do its part, but you're going to help me.
Mike, let me know if
we can do.
Mike, let me know if I can help you in any way. I'll send you my email and stuff. So you can
please do that, or you can just I'll put my email in the chat.
Okay.
And then Diego has a hand. So Diego, you have the floor.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm Diego Corvera. I'm actually an engineer with the city of Visalia, just listening in, but just wanted to comment a bit there on that last conversation relating to political and whatnot. I think there's bicycle infrastructure, as Wendell mentioned, is not a political issue. It's a safety issue. It's also something that can be sold on economics, as well as kind of taking back to that independence. I think there's conversations on children being able to move about their community freely and independently. I think these are strong arguments, or rather just positions to take when you want to try to sell some projects, because in truth, bicycle infrastructure is fundamentally cheaper to maintain the long term than infrastructure designed for vehicles. So the idea is to really get that mode shift and to increase roadway capacities for people, not just private vehicles, and in decades seeing that, and the data bears that out as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diego. I also just wanted to share a couple of other slides here. One is just talking about the economic benefits of bicycling here. They have just the most amazing, touring opportunities there. So it's I don't know if you can see, if you want to go check out their website, it's a long link there, but go to munsterland.com. Oops, sorry. And you can find all of these like castle tours and stuff. And it's really pretty amazing. So that I would refer you to their website and check that out. And then lastly, I wanted to also kind of mention in closing the pedal summit coming up here. So I wanted to just put that flyer up for a second here. And Laura has a hand up. Go ahead, Laura. I'm gonna let you go.
In clothing, I just wanted to stress a little bit how important it is for people to just speak up for safe bicycle infrastructure. We hear all the time that, oh, people complain, 2 people complained, and now we are reevaluating how we're doing things. So your voice really matters, and just reaching out to your representative, whether it's in the city and the county, can make a difference. So I think as we are, really seeing the need for safer active transportation infrastructure, we should not feel shy to reach out to Mike or other representatives to stress how important that is for the community. I think just working on these issues, I'm realizing how we underestimate how much our voice counts. So just to urge you all, make your voice heard.
I'd second that. I mean, if there's something that you like as well, we love to hear that you like Palm or that you like Rashawn and Van Ness. We hear so much negative feedback on some of those projects, but to hear, and we don't hear very many, we love this is great. And so to hear that kind of stuff, that carries, that every negative comment, if we have a positive comment, we're good. So if you like stuff too, let us know.
Well, thank you, Jill. And I want to thank Mike Karbassi and Jill and Laura. And I don't know if Nick made it, unfortunately, but I want to thank you all for going on the trip and having an open mind to seeing how Münster operates and bringing maybe a little bit of Münster back with you to Fresno in some ways. And I want to also thank you for your support and your involvement. All of you are going to be involved with the Pedal Summit, and I want to just invite everybody. We're going to have some great keynote speakers. We have Gil Peñalosa from Toronto, Canada, who's founded the 880 Cities, was involved with the Ciclovia in Bogota, Colombia. His brother Enrique was the mayor when they started that like 30 years ago. We have a Blue Planet Prize professor from UC Davis. We have international speakers from United Arab Emirates. We have a panel of mayors, our own Jerry Dyer, of course, Rochester Mayor, Münster Deputy Mayor, and the Mayor of Enschede there. So at any rate, we have a lot to look forward to, and I think our time is up. If anybody has any final comments, I was going to thank everybody for attending, and want to thank especially Mike for his valuable time, and Jill's even more valuable time now that she's Assistant Public Works Director. Congratulations, Jill, and Laura. Thank you for steering the Active Transportation Advisory Committee towards the future here, and thank you from Fresno County Bicycle Coalition. And I want to also just put a plug in to anyone to consider joining the Fresno County Bicycle Coalition. we need your help. We appreciate all your support and look forward to working together with the city and all of you to making biking better. We invite you to our next upcoming Active Transportation Advisory Committee. We'll be talking a little bit about our bicycle-friendly community. And speaking of which, there's a bicycle-friendly community survey that we need to get out to all of you to fill out. And so we will be handing that out to you. So any last comments, Mike, Jill, Laura, before we, I'm gonna play my little video if there's no other questions for anybody that didn't get to see it on the way in, and want to look forward to the bike summit and seeing all of you there. So
just want to thank everyone for being here. I know it's dinner time, you're all working, and you're taking the time to talk about this issue and educate me. I do want to just comment on what Laura said. I strongly encourage you, especially if the electeds aren't interested in the topic, please reach out to them. That's the only way. Our job is to work for you. That's the only way we're going to be educated. And it was through people like Matthew, people like Laura, people like Tony, educating me as a candidate and as an elected on why this is so important. And Münster happened, and yeah, this is just all a progression. So please do reach out. No matter what you hear, just reach out.
Thank you, Mike. It's wonderful to have you and wonderful to have Jill and Laura and everybody else with us this evening. Thank you for the great questions. So I'm gonna, before we turn off the video, I'm gonna, or the recording rather, I'm gonna play the my little video clip for anybody that missed it. If you already saw that, you don't have to watch it again. So I'm gonna share a screen and we'll sign off after that. So let me see if I can do this. I have to turn on musicians. There we go. And play slideshow. And okay, here we go. Okay. So I'll thanks everybody. Anybody is still here? I didn't know if anybody was going to be there after the video, but so glad you got a chance to see it there. So we'll go ahead and stop the recording there if Edie